our esteemed General Manager, Rick Broom. And I've got to say that because he's sitting right within arm's length of me. And there are sharp implements I've noticed over there. And we're also joined with Dan Widdowson from Coast Community Church. Boys, g'day. How are you?
It's actually Dan Widdowson.
Dan Widdowson.
Yeah, and I wasn't esteemed. I didn't get to be esteemed.
Well, we'll esteem you. esteem you.
Thank you very much.
So just to, for some of you listeners might say, hang on, I've heard that voice before. Dan has a history. He used to be on radio, Hope 103.2 in the mornings. Dan and Aaron.
Yeah,
Remember that?
Yeah, that was like...
Remember that guy?
It was like a 6-year run, but it was 3 years and then a break of 3 years.
Because you went off to Norfolk Island. You went native for a little while at Norfolk Island.
Lived in a loincloth for a little while. And then I came back for another 3 years, yeah. But now securely on the coast.
As should be.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Dan is also part of the pastoral team at Coast Community Church at Bensville. We're working mainly with the youth.
Yeah, so mostly doing the youth stuff. That's where my passion is with the younger generation.
He's also one of these funny thespian people.
Yeah.
Everyone's going, oh, what? Did you say that word I thought you said? No, thespian. With a TH. He does dramas. He does plays, and you write plays.
I do, yeah. So with
and you direct and act, and one of those outgoing artsy people.
Yeah, so one of those outgoing artsy. Way to box me. Put me in a box.
Not putting in your box at all.
No, it's fine. I run Salt House Theatre Company. Basically, it's like we're a fairly new theatre company on the coast. Been around for about 3 years. But it's funny, for the same reason I'm doing Salt House is probably really for the same reason that you do radios, right? Because we want to have a positive influence on our culture, on our community, and so kind of using my gifts in the theatre space to do that, whereas you use your gifts in the radio space to do this.
The theatre space is a challenging place, probably, to represent Christ.
Well, yes and no. It's look, it can be. I think, like with every industry, right? Most industries have this wild side to them, which certainly the theatre space can have this wild side. But at the same time, it's the kind of space where good community happens pretty quick. Because you've got to be on stage with a group of people, you've got to be pretty close with them, and so community just tends to happen. And so it's a good opportunity to direct and nurture that community into something healthy, where it could potentially at times become unhealthy.
We've been talking earlier, I don't know if anyone out there was listening a little while ago, we were chatting with Max Warren about the whole thing of authenticity and truth and how the younger generations, who you're obviously very plugged in with, much more concerned about authenticity than truth. Yeah. And show me your truth through your authenticity.
That's right.
It's sort of how the on-ramp to them.
And if you're authentic, right, it gives you the leeway to get stuff wrong at times and then authentically say, oh, actually,
I stuffed up.
I got that wrong. Whereas if you're trying to be correct and good and perfect all the time, like it's just not going to happen anyway. So whacking on the authenticity just gives you that, like, I'm going to do my best, and when I get it wrong, I'm going to say, hey, I got it wrong.
It's a good place to start from. Just harking back to the appeal a bit, Mick and I and my lovely wife Leanne managed to do a bit of a trial run of this last week, didn't we? We popped up to Port Macquarie, and because they were doing their appeal a little bit before June, and we jumped on air and gave them a bit of a hand and tried to kickstart things up there a bit, and that was
a good time.
It was awesome because what really struck me is the people who they had as part of their team up there. A lot of older, probably demographic. They're volunteers, but man, they were on fire for what God is doing, and the numbers coming in are not huge because it's only a small market. It's only like 80,000 people, 85,000 people in Port, but it's the same spirit. I mean, because they're about community radio, they're about spreading the gospel through this media and reaching out. And even though they're older, their heart is still for the young people. Because I mean, they're recognising that our days on this planet are only limited, and there is other generations coming up, and we need to do what we can to make the way for them.
Absolutely. And this is the thing we want to encourage people with right across the Central Coast this whole weekend, is to just get out there and mixing and being family and community with everyone else. There's been such a thing I've noticed in the years, over many years of being a believer now, is this thing of ageism in the church. And it's almost like we get to a point where we get to a certain age and all of a sudden it's like, well, you guys can kind of take a back seat over there because now we've got all the younger ones coming through, and that's great. And all the older ones are like, okay, so what do we do now? But that's not what the kingdom looks like. The kingdom looks like those older people stepping into more influential roles and saying, hey, this is how we did it, or how we didn't do it, or how we should have done it, and don't do it like this, but hey, do it like this. And everybody, those older guys taking on more of a mentoring role, a mothering and a fathering role in the church. And I see that that's actually happening in different places, and I love it. Dan, I know that you were saying out the back when I first met you, you've been pastoring for 16 years now?
No, almost.
Roughly?
2006 is when I started.
Okay. 12 years. 12 years.
12 years. So
his maths not very good.
I was thinking 2006, and then for some reason it became 16.
I understand.
Maybe that's a prophetic thing. Who knows?
Wow. But and that's the funny thing too, is that that's something I'm passionate about, is that God's kingdom is for all who are in it, right? So that's every age. So that means that it's almost like the 1 and 2 year olds in the church aren't really the next generation of the kingdom. They're in it now, they're living it now.
Absolutely.
And the older generation, it's not like, okay, you've done your time, but you're actually still part of the kingdom now, still around for a purpose now. And like with the appeal, right? It's like so every single person who believes in the message of Christ being available on the Central Coast, you have an opportunity to play in that now.
Absolutely.
No matter what your age, no matter where you are, you can invest on keeping that message alive.
Yeah.
Everyone, every age.
Absolutely. Welcome.
Hello.
I'm back again. Dan, I want to throw it to you.
Yes.
Our appeal is called Be the Change.
Correct.
And my whole thinking behind it, and I believe God's leading, is to see change, we need to be change.
Yes.
It's not enough to look at things and criticise and say that's wrong with the world, that's wrong with the world. To actually see change, we need to actually be part of the solution instead of just pointing out the problem. Young people today the church today has a credibility issue with the young people.
Yep.
I think that's probably been earned.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah.
We probably deserve that.
Can't argue with that.
How do we go about reaching young people today to show them the authenticity, I guess, of Jesus and his claims of the Christian faith? Forget the institution of church, but that sort of matters. What do we do different to what we've done in the past?
Wow, so it's a big question, right?
Yeah, you've got 3 seconds.
No worries. Well, look, I'll tell you what I think, and what I think may
That's
not
all I want, is what you think.
Be correct. But generally, I think we relate to and we attract people who are a little bit similar to ourselves. Well, certainly that's how I'll operate. So if I'm getting together with
do you find a lot of bald people hanging around you?
I only have bald friends. How it works.
Hallelujah, brother.
But so, for example, like my small group at churches have connect groups or home groups or Bible study, whatever you want to call it. My group of blokes are about my age, at the same stage of life, and we just we talk to each other because we're in the same space. So I believe that for more young people to hear the message of Christ and who he is and how he transforms us and transforms life and turns everything upside down for the better, I think the key there is for young people in that space who know Christ to then to bring him, share him, live with him in them and share him with others. So I love that your theme is Be the Change, because if young people want more young people in church, then they need to be Jesus in their community, right? Because he's the one who attracts. It's never really us, and if we do something that we think, oh, that's going to attract people, most likely that's Christ working through us anyway, right? So the more we live with Christ in us, and the more young people just truly get focus on him and live with him, the more opportunity they have then to share him in their community, and that's when people go, oh, there's something different about you, it smells different, it tastes different, I want to experience that. And so on that, I would say that with your theme of Be the Change, I would encourage any school-age children listening, if you believe...
They should be in school.
They should be in school. Well,
who are truanting today or are sick.
Or whatever. Or that. Or even if you've just finished school in the last few years and you're listening to this. If you hear an appeal, it's not always up to mums and dads to support that, or grandparents to support that. But as a young person, if it's in your capacity to support a local station that is presenting the message of Christ, then you can actually be the change. Like, you could make a phone call right now and be part of making that. As a young person in our community, you can make a change today by being involved in this appeal.
Do you think young people today are hungry?
I think everyone's hungry.
Okay.
I really
Yeah.
do. So yeah, I do. I think like all of us, we can pretend not to be, and we can pretend to be complacent. Nah, it's all cool. No, I don't care. No, I'm not fast. It doesn't matter. But I think we are all, like, we're all looking for something, right? We're all desiring something. And whatever you call that, you call it your dreams, your goals, your inner self, some passion, some desire, whatever it is. I think we are all looking for something. And we'll always, from what I understand, we'll always keep looking, because the only thing that can truly fill us to full contentment, not give us everything we want, but what we need, the only place where we find complete contentment and peace is in Christ. So I think until Christ is in us, yeah, we're always, something's missing. And when you experience Him and His truth and who He is, you can be content in absolutely any situation.